Good evening and welcome back to Deep Images. On the heels of our Hallows Eve 2024 coverage, we are beginning a brand new horror-centric series. This time around, we'll be tackling vampires. Regarding this sanguine subject, we will be discussing some of the usual suspects that we have not gotten around to in the past, and some very unusual suspects. So, some classics, some obscurities. Joining me in this first blood-soaked session will be these amazing folks. Co-hosts CF Roberts and Justin Cotton, veteran panelists Bill Mulligan, Francis Chu, and Briggy Williams, and awesome newcomer Aaron Garland. And I am Henry Covert. So please join us as we begin season 4 of Deep Images. It would not be possible if not for you guys. If you would drop a like and subscribe to the channel, it would help us out tremendously. So let's get into it. And I got my co-host CF Roberts in the house. So he has also got an amazing film to tell you all about, and I think and hope some of the other folks on our panel have seen it. We can have a little talk about it.
Okay. Well, today's offering that I have for you is a film from 1977, and it is directed by excuse me,
That guy,
brain farting, George Romero. George Romero directed this one. Ironically, this is not one of the ones that has zombies in it in any way, shape, or form. This is, in fact, a vampire movie, and at least in my feeble opinion, it's Romero's best movie.
I think it is his best movie, his most artistically made movie.
Yeah,
but I'll let you elucidate on that.
And it is Martin. Now, Martin stars John Amplas as the titular character. John Amplas was very young, or he looked very young at the time. He, I think, has been kind of a semi-regular player in Romero's films. I can at least count that he was in Day of the Dead, played a small role in that.
Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, was he in Dawn of the Dead too?
Small role, but he also did makeup. He also did crew on quite a few of them. And yeah, he was also the corpse in Creepshow that wants the cake.
Ooh, yeah, okay. So
I figure.
So yeah, kind of a regular person, at least for a while, in George Romero's cast. And you first see Martin getting on a train. He's taking a train from kind of a nighttime train from Indianapolis to Pittsburgh, and he's getting on a train. You see some of the other folks getting on. He's kind of a young looking guy. Looks like he may be late teens, early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of a slight young looking guy, very shy and introverted. And there's this one woman who gets on the train also, and he appears to really have his eye out for her. And so at one point in the night, he kind of gets up from where he's at and kind of goes on down to her car and picks the lock and gets in. And so he's in her car, and he kind of ambushes her. She's in the bathroom brushing her teeth and whatever. She's got her face mask on, and she's getting ready to turn in. And he jumps on her, pulls a syringe out of his backpack, and injects her. And she struggles with him for a while, and he tells her, "No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not going to hurt you. You're not going to feel it." And So he shot her up with some kind of narcotic or something to that effect, or sedative, but eventually she conks out, and upon that he places her back up on her bed and more or less kind of rapes her, but then pulls some of his implements out of his bag. He pulls out a razor and slices her wrist open and begins drinking.
He slices it
And
vertically.
yeah, slices it vertically, which right there, is pretty much he's doing it for keeps. He's not fooling around. He's looking to bleed her out. And so he begins drinking her blood. And when he's done, he pretty much just leaves her there to bleed out, trying to make her as much as possible look like she's in bed, and runs back to his car or his compartment, cleans up, and then arrives in Pittsburgh the next morning, gets off the train before anyone really knows what's going on, and gets out, and there's this crabby looking old man in a white suit sitting outside, and he beckons to him and says, "You come with me." He's obviously gone to see this guy. It says, "My name is Kuda. You come with me." And so then they get
What a
on another
character.
train. What a character! So they get on the train, and and they get on this next train, and he takes him to the town of Braddock, which I guess is kind of a suburb of Pittsburgh, and takes him in. He says, as soon as he gets in the house, he pretty much tells him, "You are Nosferatu, and I'm going to destroy you, but I'm going to save your soul first." And so he pretty much lays down the law for Martin and just says, yeah, they shows him that he's got, the garlic bulbs hanging on his door, and turns over and says, that's where Christina lives. She's That's where Christina sleeps. She's his granddaughter, and she's got garlic bulbs attached to her door too, and says, "Yeah, you don't touch her either, and just you don't talk to her, nothing." And it says, "I am going to prevent you from doing anything." And so he basically shows him all the cross and everything, and here's how I'm going to prevent you from getting to me. And Martin just kind of slaps down the cross and grabs the garlic bulbs and holds them up and says, "Listen, it's all a lie. All this stuff you got, these superstitions, basically, there's no magic. There's nothing there. It's all a lie." And it just pretty much rebukes his old world superstitions. But the story as it evolves is that Kuda, the old guy, is basically supposed to be his cousin, and Martin is actually supposed to be 84 years old, according at least to what Kuda says. And Martin himself says he is much older than he looks,
He
but
says he's 82.
82, yeah, okay.
And she's like,
He's
"How old are
82.
you, Martin?" He said, "Oh, I'm old. I'm 82." Which
Yeah.
the way he says it and the way he's absurd.
Yeah, yeah. It seems a little unbelievable, but I think the whole stretch is supposed to be unbelievable. But basically, for whatever reason, he's shown up in Kuda's household. Is whatever reason specified. It's a little illogical, but he ends up, despite being told that he can't talk to her or anything else, strikes up a friendship with Kuda's granddaughter Christina, who's kind of an adult and at this point ready to go off on her own, but but she's kind of frustrated and she doesn't buy into any of this nonsense about vampires and Nosferatu, and does not buy into any of Kuda's superstitions. And they have this constant thing. She's also going out with a guy named Arthur, who's played by Tom Savini in a very straight acting role for him.
It was one of his first, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's, past even the point where, like with Maniac, where he just shows up long enough to make out in the car and get his brains blown out.
He blows his own brains out. He blows his own brains out because he does the effect of his own head blowing up.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess he technically does. But in this, he's pretty much just playing a straight role. He's just playing this this guy that Christina has this very complicated relationship with. They don't always seem to get along. They seem to have kind of a volatile relationship, but it's a situation that exists. Martin goes to work in this little grocery store that Kuda runs, and much of his job seems to be going and delivering food to the various customers. And most of them are really rude and nasty to him, and he's doesn't get along with them terribly well at all. Except for one lady named Abby Santini, who he goes to, and she kind of takes a shine to him. She's kind of a frustrated married woman with a husband who is very much I don't know, an absentee husband, and I think she obviously kind of wants something a little more of him, but he's very shy and doesn't talk a lot. But he settles in, kind of goes to work doing this job, and there's this radio talk show happening locally that he starts calling into and referring to himself as the Count, and basically talking about his life as a vampire. And throughout this whole time, you see him, he'll occasionally, because Kuda has told him, if you drive out, if you kill anyone in Braddock, I'm gonna know. So don't you do it, or I'm gonna stake you right there. And he'll go out and he'll occasionally, I think at one point, kind of goes out, and there's this woman who he kind of cases her, shows up at the door pretending to be a deaf mute trying to panhandle, and he kind of figures her whole lay of the land out because she's got this husband who's heading out of town, and she's telling him, don't do anything I wouldn't do. And of course, as soon as he's gone, Martin shows up and decides she's going to be his next victim. Only the thing is, he's in the process of doing something she wouldn't do with this other guy. And so he jumps them, he drugs her, chases down the other guy, drugs him.
That is a long, convoluted scene, man, but so well put together.
Drugs him, kills him, bleeds him out, and drinks his blood. Runs back and says, "It's okay. I don't have to kill you." And so he rapes her, but he doesn't kill her. And the whole time he's undergoing, doing these little scenarios where he's killing these people or drugging them or whatever else, he's having these visions where he's killing other people. He's got, the same actors playing his victims, or playing these characters from, maybe the last century, and he's chasing them up spiral staircases, or
I think they might be supposed to be in Romania.
Yeah, they're Lithuania, actually. He's I looked that up. Yeah, he's supposedly Lithuanian.
Birthplace of Hannibal Lecter, y'all.
Mhm. Everybody's got to start somewhere.
Oh yeah.
But just and he's just having these black and white kind of alternate visions that seem very romanticized, or these things where he's being chased by villagers with pitchforks and torches and all kinds of stuff. And it's unclear as to whether Martin is actually a for real vampire or if he's basically just this sick, messed up kid who thinks he's a vampire. And he's unfortunately got this crazy old world relative who believes in all this stuff.
Tatakuda.
And so he's doing all this stuff, but is he remembering stuff from the previous century, or is he just fantasizing?
What do y'all think? Anybody, but Chuck first, I guess.
I think he's crazy as a bedbug. No more of a
Yeah.
vampire than I am. But
Yeah, I think that was my takeaway, really.
Yeah, that was mine too. I don't think the flashbacks. I mean, they're red. What is the word? Red herring, I guess, in this case.
Yeah.
But they're so haunting, and I don't know. It does make you wonder, but I think the ending well, yeah, I think.
But so
I mean, I wonder if they're invoking film, the history of vampire films.
Yeah, it seems like that to me.
Yeah, the old world. I mean, I guess it's like, but to Tatakuda, those things really happened. But Martin's not the only one in the family who's completely insane. I think Tatakuda is more insane than Martin. But
he's
relatively speaking,
he's crackers. He's absolutely crackers, I think. But further on, you get that. At one point, Tatakuda's walking down the street, and he's got kind of like the parade of Christina and her boyfriend, and Martin kind of walking along with them. It's like, you live in a Catholic household, you're going to come to the church. And so they go to this Catholic church that's in the neighborhood, I guess. And it's not exactly the most opulent place. I grew up Catholic. I've been to a lot of Catholic churches, and it's basically kind of a second floor walk up with lots of metal folding chairs. So kind of lowbrow, but the new priest who's there, Father Howard is partially there giving his sermon, and because he's the new priest in town, Tatakuda invites him to come to the house.
Tell us who plays that guy.
That's none other than our commandeer, George Romero.
Oh yeah.
And he kind of goes over to the house and visits, and I think Kuda kind of regards this as a slap in the face, because whatever old school rigmarole Kuda wants to talk about, Father Howard is just not down with. And I can kind of relate to that. My mom, on one level or another, was kind of like what modern Catholicism refers to as a trad cat.
What does that mean?
A traditional Catholic. And just when I grew up, she was engaged in the Catholic Church a lot, and she was going to the church on off days and picking up literature. And it was what it was, but she was always handing out little religious pamphlets and whatnot. She always had them in the house, and I sit there for hours looking at the pictures and everything. But eventually she kind of came up talking to the new priest, and she was discussing things that were kind of like old school, and And he just kind of laughed and said, "Oh, that went out with Vatican II. Nobody
Oh,
believes that anymore." And
Right.
she was shocked, and it was kind of a slap in her face. And there were a lot of ins and outs that I'm not going to go into, but basically, she fell away big time from the Catholic
There was some kind
Church.
of schism in the Catholic Church in the 60s where there's a term
Yeah,
for it or phrase.
well, the
But
Latin Mass disappearing was a big deal.
yeah,
yeah,
they alleged to be more humanists and more open minded and stuff. I had a friend, Pedro, who was studying to be a monk, and he kept going in and out of this. He explained all this to me. It's been years ago. Um,
yeah,
but the thing is, once you got to know what he was talking about, they're compared to me anyway, they're still far, far, far right and repressive,
yeah,
but I guess they were a little improvement. I don't know.
yeah, yeah, somewhat. Depending on how you looked at it. My mom at the time, we buried her like a year ago, and so at the time we
Sorry.
held her. It's all right. At the time we had her funeral. She very decidedly did not want a Catholic mass, and so you
Oh,
know that didn't happen. We got something kind of non-denominational for her, but so he's just like, yeah, a lot of people kind of like the old fashioned stuff and all that. Like Father, trying to think what the old guy's name was. Father, I actually in my notes had it written down here.
I believe you.
Father Zulamus, and he even he performs all the old rites, and so next thing you know, Tata Kuta is hanging over Martin's bed with Father Zulamus, and they're performing an exorcism ritual, and he just kind of rolls his eyes and puts up with it. It's just kind of like you and your magic and your superstitions, your nonsense. And later on, he goes after Tata Kuta and taunts him by running around in a cape with some plastic fangs. It's just like
Classic blunder.
yeah, it's just a costume.
Right.
It's fake. Everything you're believing is fake. All he's telling his I guess I don't want to say it's his friend, but his audience on the talk radio show, just saying like, yeah, being a vampire in reality is nothing at all like in the movies or anything like that. And but he starts for a brief while, he starts actually kind of assimilating and falling into a somewhat normal society, in somewhat of a normal situation. He starts seeing this woman, Mrs. Santini, and kind of being her side dish off and on.
It's
And
his first dish, I'm pretty sure.
yeah, it's
Pretty sure it's
his
his first dish.
it's the first
He's
woman
like,
he's ever
it's
been
time
with
for the
without
sexy stuff. That's what he tells the guy on the
yeah
radio.
without drugging and raping and
The
all that
sexy
good
stuff.
stuff. Just
We're now drugging and raping, right?
yeah, yeah, all the wholesome stuff, but so yeah, just some garden variety adultery. But she's got a failing marriage, and she's barren, and she's obviously having a hard time with that, and she's obviously very depressed.
Oh yeah.
And that kind of plays further into the ending, but
I like their relationship.
yeah. And you hear him kind of at one point telling the radio DJ, just telling him, yeah, there's this whole thing where he's just like, eventually you just get careless, and that's usually when we get caught or whatever, is when we get careless. And lo and behold, later on you see him going out to Pittsburgh one night to hunt, and he gets careless, and there's lots of there's a couple of homeless guys hanging around, and like he drugs one and kills another one and feeds on one, and then suddenly he gets caught in this huge kind of cluster where the cops are there and they wind up interrupting a drug deal. And between the drug dealers and the cops, they all wind up basically killing each other, and Martin barely gets out of there with his hide intact.
That's a strange scene. It
But he
almost seems
goes,
out of place in the movie.
yeah, but he goes back and he kind of tries to get back to life as normal. One day he's kind of delivering the groceries. He goes up to Mrs. Santini's house and she's dead in the bathtub, and she's very obviously committed suicide. And so he's very saddened and taken aback by that, and kind of just muses to his talk radio guy, just saying like, maybe it's, and Christina on top of that and her boyfriend take off, and she leaves the house, and he never hears from her again. And so
Christina also is played by Christine Forrest Romero, George's wife at the time.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's why they named the character Christina, because her name's Christine.
Yeah, okay. But so she leaves and that's over. And
then it ends.
He just wakes up. Then he wakes up one day, and he wakes up not long afterwards, and Tadakut is standing over him with a stake and a hammer, and he says, "You killed, I told you not to kill anyone in Braddock. You killed Mrs. Santini. I know about that. Now I'm going to send you to hell." And he stakes him and kills him. And the very last image you see is Tadakuta just kind of tending the garden and the flower bed out front, where he's very obviously just buried Martin, and laying the crucifix on top of it. Yes, and at the same time, you've got this little voiceover of all the talk radio people just talking, "Hey, whatever happened to the Count? I don't know. I never hear from him anymore. Maybe he did this, and maybe he did that." And it's just kind of all going to be speculation because they never know. But yeah, it really hammers home to me, I don't think he was an according to Hoyle vampire. I think he was just
that's the
this crazy messed up kid. And then
that first time I saw it, that scene absolutely took me off guard.
Yeah,
because I just thought Tadakuta was just talking a lot of shit, and he wasn't actually going to do anything to him. But and when he's holding over him and Martin's kind of helpless, and that hammer comes down fast, and blood spurts. It's like, wow, okay, it's over. And I was like, damn, okay, they went there. I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this kid was not a good kid. He murdered,
but he was a sympathetic actor performer. I mean, his performance was pathetic, I thought.
Yeah.
As the movie goes on, it seems like he's trying to be sane or trying to be normal, kind of failing, but not.
Yeah, he sort of, on some level, attempts to get there, but finally in the end,
only the character in Maniac. Only I don't know which one's worse, but probably the character in Maniac.
He's pretty bad.
Yeah, they always have this moment where they're trying to maybe achieve some level of normalcy, but they never get there. And but and there he is, finally at the end of the day, killed by his uncle or his cousin or his relative, at any rate, killed by this guy's bad superstition and just toxic beliefs.
What do you think about Rubinstein's soundtrack? Because I think it's just amazing.
I thought it was fine.
It's just so sad and mournful sounding.
Yeah.
It begins and ends that way, and with all the shots of coming in and out of Pittsburgh, I guess.
Yeah. And I guess, just the whole, I don't know, just kind of like the same vibe. I really literally got the same vibe watching Night of the Living Dead, the ending of that and the ending of this. I feel like they just kind of captured the same sort of vibe.
Yeah, I've always ever since I started seeing movies like that, the sudden death of the protagonist, like really sudden, and in some cases, like with Ben, like just outrageously unfair.
Yeah,
like the end of Easy Rider is like that. The end of
Yeah.
the end of Electric Light and Blue is like that.
Yeah.
Those two you mentioned, and of course, a couple of Cronenberg films.
Yeah, just that whole just the kind of really kind of downbeat existential ending
Fatalism,
that,
baby.
that was real big at that time.
Yeah, I don't know. It resonates with me for some reason. Maybe I'm.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
good.
it's like just if you're gonna do a sad ending, that's how to do it, you know.
Hell yeah. I mean, yeah, we've talked about this. Any other people have thoughts on Martin? Who has seen Martin here? Bill?
It's marvelously edited.
Yeah.
I, when you watch it, and you could watch that movie with the sound turned off during some of the sequences, and just brilliantly edited. Really, really well done. Like a master class in it. He didn't edit all of his films, but maybe he should
Edited
have.
that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's much more into montage than camera work.
Hmm.
Camera movement, I mean. Wow. How about you, Francis? Is it one of your favorites?
I have to admit, it's a bit too depressing for me.
Mm, fair.
We should have expected that after what we were
Valid.
saying.
Yeah.
One interesting interpretation I've heard of it that the government is the real vampire because they're the ones who are sapping the strength out of those towns and cities.
Now, do you think that's in Martin or in a
Ooh.
number of vampire
In
films?
Martin, in Martin.
Yeah, they definitely show you enough depressing vistas of the Rust Belt.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's kind of the urban. Is urban blight the right term, or is that the wrong term?
Yeah, I think
you
that's
know,
the right term.
And what kind of job can Martin have? I mean, it's just.
Well, it's a dead end. It
I
really
know it's a
is.
dead
That's what
end.
he fantasizes about
His sister's a
becoming a
nurse.
vampire.
Her boyfriend is probably a criminal.
Yeah, and
Savini
all
plays
they
it,
do
so
is
he's probably
talk about how there are no good jobs there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found that Tom Savini character to be extremely repulsive.
Yeah.
He always plays repulsive. I guess the guy in From Dusk Till Dawn was mildly likable, but yeah. What did you think, Brig, or have you seen it yet?
No, I haven't. I'm actually, as you're speaking, I'm just writing down. I mean, I'm going to watch, but certainly I'm writing down some of these movies because they seem very intriguing to me.
Pretty
So,
sure Aaron's seen it, but I'm not sure where he went.
yeah.
I don't know if I should go to the other room and look for him.
It's
Now,
left
see,
for
this
them.
is a horror movie now. Then you don't come back, and then we send another person there, and they don't come
This is
back.
our modern horror movie
Yeah.
where it's like
Yeah.
on Zoom. I've seen a couple of those, and
This is the Blair Witch. This is the modern Blair Witch.
don't insult movies like that. I mean, I saw Unfriended, and it was like, I mean, it could be done well.
Mhm.
Maybe I haven't seen I have seen one, a South Korean one. Didn't see it all the way through. It wasn't good enough to finish, but it was way better than the American attempts to do that. They're all talking on Zoom, and somebody makes a phone call, or somebody disappears and dies.
The old ones may be lurking in your bathroom, dude.
Probably.
Just saying.
Yeah.
I think Martin is yes, I think it's his best made film from a cinematic viewpoint, as far as photographed, edited, music, the vibe of it, the feel of it. It's just an amazing work of art. And I don't think he ever topped it. I don't think he needed to. I think Dawn of the Dead, is just as great, in its way. I just think Dawn of the Dead is back to where he's doing something that's artistic, but it's also kind of, I don't want to say populist, but it's got action tropes and Martin is more like a kind of like a downbeat American indie art house film, which I guess it was.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, I did like it was definitely a big jump forward from There's Always Vanilla, which I personally like and everyone hates, but I find that to be a nice, fun movie. It's not as I like Season of the Witch quite a lot. I like that better than.
That's one I've still got to see.
Yeah, Season of the Witch is they're both on Blu-ray yet. Barra put both of them out, and Season of the Witch is I always liked that one. I always had it's very 70s. You know, it's all
Yeah.
about feminism and witches, you know, the whole thing. Oh, hey, Aaron's back. So, Briggy, what do you say about closing out this video with a special thought?
Yeah. Special thought of the night. Vampires are cool. They're here. They're with us.
They're
Some of them
among
are
us.
queer. Some of them are queer. Get used to it.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
please like and subscribe. All right, love you guys. Take care. Have a good night.
Yep.
Save us the brain
Good night.
fart.
Bye.
Bye.
And it's true that we cannot see that far behind. If we looked all the way in the past, we'd go blind. In the night, from the stars as they've all lived their lives, and the light that they gave as they burned and then died.